First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fox 12 Now. As always, we appreciate you joining us, whether that's live or after the fact. And on whatever platform you're on, we do recommend the Fox 12 Oregon apps because you can watch live or after the fact very easily through those. But regardless, we get to have longer form conversations on here, and we're talking about right now management of some of the forests in Oregon, including some old growth stands and a lot through the Coast Range and really throughout the entire state. And we're going to talk to the Bureau of Land Management about a proposal that is out there for some changes to that and some feedback that they are seeking from the public. We'll let you know how to do that as well. To do so, though, for this conversation, we're joined by Elizabeth Burgard. And Elizabeth, thank you very much, for being here and to have this conversation and really get information out to the public about what's happening. And I think to that educational standpoint, would you mind, just starting off, giving everybody an idea of the Bureau of Land Management's role in managing these forests in Oregon and the work that you do with that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to join you today. I'm especially excited and proud to talk about BLM's role in managing forests because it is not just a year that we're working on a resource management plan, but it is actually the 80th anniversary of the establishment of the Bureau of Land Management. So it's an especially proud time to be a BLM employee. But our role in timber management and forest management is focused largely in Western Oregon. We manage 2.4 million acres of O&C lands, which are specifically lands that were donated to the Oregon and California Pacific Railroad for construction of the Pacific Railroad line, and then were returned to the federal government in 1916. Since 1937, those lands have been managed for sustained yield timber production, and since our creation in 1946, BLM has had the opportunity to be the agency that administers those lands. We also have lands that we manage under the Federal Land Policy Management Act, but the vast majority of the land that we're focusing on for this plan are O&C lands.
And thank you very much. So I think that's really good for people to get that concept too of just how this has all worked for so long and the anniversary of that. So for this particular proposal and talking about those lands, what are some of the changes that are being proposed to how those forests are managed?
Well, we don't have any specific alternatives that we are looking at this point. We're very early in the planning process, and so right now we're really seeking public feedback on, if nothing else, the current plan. We've been operating under two resource management plans for all of Western Oregon BLM administered lands. For our forestry and other programs. We'd love to hear what is working for that plan for folks. We have really a responsibility to be current with our plans. So the last one we did was in 2016. Now we're taking another look at it. Certainly some of the things that we are looking at are how can we meet that commitment for sustained yield timber production on O&C lands? How can we support increases in domestic timber production consistent with executive orders? How can we create a reliable, durable domestic supply of timber? And we're also recognizing the role that active management has in treating our landscapes and really improving our landscapes. Active forest management is critical to things like mitigation of wildfire impacts and reduction of wildfire risks and creating forest resiliency.
I know, and all of those things are important. And talking about that management of the land, you mentioned like the executive order as far as timber harvests. One of the things that I'll just say that people are concerned about is we have a lot of big expanses of old growth forests like Valley of the Giants and things like that. Would those expanses of that old growth forest and those sections there, things like that, would they be affected by this order? And would that mean that those trees could be harvested depending on how this proposal is handled?
Um, I can't really speculate on exactly how all of our alternatives are going to roll out, but I do want to clarify. So, Valley of the Giants areas of critical environmental concern are something that we look at in every single planning process, and it is something that we seek information from. The public on in every single process. So much like, are there things you like about our current plan? Are there areas that are important to you as a member of the public? We want to hear from you. We have certainly heard how important some of these areas are to folks, and understandably, some of them are just spectacular. And it's an honor to manage them. So we don't have any. We're still so early in the process. It's hard to say um, exactly how our management would affect or would not affect some of those areas, but we want to make sure that we consider them in our plans moving forward.
And when it comes to the public feedback side of things, what
hmm
types of feedback are you looking for from the public?
Um, we look for what we call substantive comments, and those are really specifics like specific areas that you would propose for individual management, specific strategies that you want to make us aware of in terms of wildland fire protection, particular areas, again, of importance. We've heard feedback across a really vast array. We've heard concern from folks, questions from folks. We've heard feedback from people who are really excited to see us looking at this again and possibly increase our timber production or to be able to do that in a responsible way. Um, so it's a vast array, something more specific than, we love it or we don't like it. That's great. But really specifics, if there's something in a particular area that you're concerned about, um, those kinds of details are going to help us make informed decisions.
So letting somebody know that area, specific area, and the specifics of why
Yeah,
or what they would like to see.
exactly. Yes.
And looking at and I've got that proposal here, so that's what I
hmm
just had printed it out here, so everybody can go get this too. This is public, and we'll get the
hmm
email address up as well, where people can send in their comments for that. Talking about the environmental side of things, I suppose, when it comes to that, the environmental impact of some of these protected areas, are these areas where, despite something that's maybe environmentally protected, could they still be logged under this proposal based on the executive order? And that may be too broad of a question, but just in general, I know that's something that people are concerned about.
hmm Well, I think one thing I want to make folks aware of is in our current plan, we have different levels of intensity of management, different forest practices that we use in a variety of areas based on what the environmental concerns are. So, for example, we have areas in Southwest Oregon where we need to create additional habitat for the northern spotted owl. And those are actually, we have to do commercial logging in order to do that. So there is actually a broad suite of, even if an area has environmental sensitivities, um, active management, logging, forest practices may still be very appropriate in terms of increasing that sustainable environment in the long term.
And given, and I'm not sure exactly what or maybe you can say, and if you can't, that's fine, but how
Mhm.
much more timber it is that we're expected to harvest to reach whatever the executive order is or whatever the levels are
Mhm.
that are being asked?
Yeah. I don't have a number for you. We don't have a number. Our notice of intent talked about historical levels of production. And so, for example, we produced 241 million board feet of timber last year in Oregon and Washington. Um, it
Do you
takes
have?
a 1 million, yeah, 1 million board feet can can construct about 60 homes, just for reference there. Prior to the listing of the spotted owl, we saw timber production over 1 billion board feet annually. Under the Northwest Forest Plan, we produced 203 million board feet annually. So this is something, as I was saying before, we have to continually go back, look at what's relevant, look at what the issues are of the day. What are the forest conditions today versus what they were 20 years ago versus what they were 40 years ago? Those are all factors we have to take into consideration.
And is the goal to, based on the order, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of factors that have to go
Mhm.
into this, but to get back, when you're talking about historic, timber harvest, like looking at this chart, which is probably too small on people's screens, but
Yeah.
like late 80s, mid 80s there, when it was about, looks like 1.4 billion board feet,
Mhm.
or is that the kind of level that could get back to?
Um, I don't have a number that I can speculate as far as where we
Sure.
can get today, given the conditions on the ground. But that's why we want to look at a full range. And as you could see from the chart, it really varies over time. And that's in response to a lot of factors, from the conditions on the ground to endangered species listings and being in balance there, to the timber market itself and demand. There's a lot of things that end up creating those numbers. We want to make sure that our plans are something that are responsive, and again, go back to the um, mandate that we have in the ONC Act.
And just from your opinion, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about this proposal and the BLM's management and potential changes
Mhm.
that we could see?
From what I've seen, I think uh, I think folks are concerned. Don't I'm happy to have the opportunity to clarify that we are so early in the process. It's not a one and done conversation. We will have a draft environmental impact statement where we will lay out our alternatives, and we will also present what the impacts of those alternatives are. People will be able to see what those trade-offs are and what the impacts are, how we are proposing to mitigate those impacts. And then they will be able to comment on that as well. So it's very early in the process. A lot of the comments I've seen certainly express a sense of urgency. And absolutely, we want to hear from you, and we want to hear from you during our scoping period, which goes until March 23rd. But there are many more steps in the process to come.
Gotcha. So for those out there, and this is just to address some of the comments that I've
Hmm.
seen, where if on March 23rd, the Valley of the Giants is going to be cut down. Now
No,
that's a very extreme thing,
yeah,
but
right.
this sounds like, so this is the first step, and then we'll get more steps after that.
Absolutely. And without until we have actually a new plan in place where there's been an actual decision, and we've gone through all of those comment processes and all of the legal processes, the administrative processes that come with it, there are no new decisions in place.
And after March 23rd, how long will it be before we see what some of these proposals are that people can publicly comment
Mhm.
on?
Some of that's going to depend on the comments that we receive, and really getting those incorporated into our alternatives. I'm hopeful that we will see something this summer that the public will be able to comment on. Folks can stay tuned into our e-planning page for updates on the timeframe.
All right. Anything else that you think is important to get out there, Elizabeth?
I just want to thank people for really providing their comments. We've had a lot of very unique comments come in, and um, it's a continuous conversation when we live in a community surrounded by public lands. And so the fact that people are so engaged and so willing to provide that information, it's much appreciated to see how much people value these lands that we have the privilege of managing.
Well, thank you very much for
Mhm.
joining us here too, to talk about this and to get this
Mhm.
information out there, and just to explain it, too, from BLM side. I think that's a lot of it is just conversations education and understanding what's happening and what's going on, and as you mentioned, that public feedback, and so we've got the email up there that people can go to or send their comments to for that. So we've got that there, and I thank you very much, for joining us here for this conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And for everybody watching, this is Fox 12 Now. So this is what we get to do. We get to have these longer form conversations and, just discussions about things that affect you and your communities, and whatever that may be. Feel free to send us an email to fox12now@kptv.com. If there's something that you would like to see a segment on or an interview about, we're happy to do that. We are going to take a break for right now. You may see the programming switch if you're watching live, but we'll be back here throughout this afternoon with other segments. If there's breaking news, I'll have that for you as well. And thanks for joining us here on Fox 12 Now.